Though the new Samsung Galaxy Note device does have some new design choices that make it feel even more premium, it does omit some of the features that we loved about the one from last year. It's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And here is your first and quick look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 versus the Galaxy Note 4. Normally, the Samsung Galaxy Note series differentiates itself from the Galaxy S line on the design front, but this year that just isn't the case. Comparing the two devices, you can already see where it gets its inspirations from. The Note 4 seemed like a phone that really tried to be executive with its leather on the backing and the metal frame that we already loved in the Note 4. But the metal frame returns now in the Note 5 and takes on the design from the Galaxy S6. But that also means a dual glass panel design that might make this one of the most delicate and also most expensive phones you don't want to be dropping anywhere. The Galaxy Note 5, though, still retains everything that the Note 4 already had in its design, including the button layout with the fingerprint scanner that's embedded into the home button up front that now is of a press design instead of the swipe design that the Note 4 started from last year. And the press design does seem to fit very well, and it does allow for an easy way of unlocking the phone. But also the Galaxy Note 5 does shed a millimeter about in all directions, so it does feel a little bit more narrow and a little bit smaller, just that tiny bit from the Note 4. Nonetheless, though, the material choices make the Note 5 feel a little bit more premium and a little bit denser. That's not to say that the Note 4 feels cheap anymore, it's just that the premium editions of the materials in the Note 5 are the upgrade that it needed in this year's edition. Where we see the same features return are mostly in the display. The Galaxy Note 5 features a 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display that is just as good, if not even better, than the one that we found in the Note 4. And it's enjoyable for everything from media to text reading to all of the multitasking and work that you would be doing on either of these devices. And really, we do think that the Super AMOLED construction is still doing very well for the Note series. Now in performance, we now have a bit of a change in the Note line because after the Galaxy S6, Samsung decided to put Exynos processors across all of their devices, and that is now the case in the Note 5. Now it's going to be very powerful, especially with 4GB of RAM that is made for all of the multitasking that you're going to need, and that is a bit of a bump up from the Galaxy Note 4 that had the Snapdragon 805 processor backed by 3GB of RAM, but still, the Note 4 should be able to provide all of the performance that plenty of users still need, so it doesn't lose too much ground on that front. And then, of course, we have the construction of the S Pen, which we will cover a little bit here. The Note 4 S Pen did nestle itself into the bottom right corner pretty well, and it was pretty easy to pop out. But now, the construction of the S Pen on the Note 5 allows it to be flush with the design. And the reason why is because the top portion is now of a clicky design. You'll be able to even click it like a regular pen, but it clicks into the chassis and kind of keeps itself out of the way until you pop that thing out, and then you're able to pull out the S Pen from there. Now, where you're probably going to find some real holes from the Note 4 to the Note 5 is in hardware, and that's because the Note 5, taking on the design of the Galaxy S6, does have to omit a couple of key features, and that is the expandable storage and also the removable battery. Expandable storage is something that I know a lot of users are going to have some problems with, and because of that, the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 will come in 32 or 64GB storage options, no 128 unfortunately, and I'm sure a lot of people will be pining for what should have been a micro SD card slot somewhere on this design. In the Note 4, it was underneath the back cover, which also allowed for the replacement of the battery, and this time around the Note 5 has an embedded battery that comes in at 3000 milliamp hours. We're not too sure if that will be enough to make this phone go the distance, but it should be enough for a full days of usage with all the optimizations underneath that the Galaxy Note 5 should be bringing to the table. Now, if we had to pick one moment in Android where cameras seem to be evolving and providing the picture quality that we really wanted, it most likely would have been in the Galaxy Note 4. The Galaxy Note 4 still boasts one of the better smartphone cameras available in the market thanks to its 16-megapixel rear-facing shooter with optical image stabilization. It produces really clear, very detailed photos with great colors, and the Galaxy S6 only continued that trend, and that same camera from the S6 comes in the Note 5. 16 megapixels in the rear-facing camera as well, with 5 megapixels on the front, trumping the Note 4, which only had 3.7 megapixels in the front-facing unit. Now, of course, we're going to put these two cameras against each other in a camera shootout, most likely, to see where the enhancements have been made, aside from just the front-facing bump up in megapixels. But really, you can expect that either of these phones will still provide the great picture quality that you've come to expect from the Samsung lines. And finally, in software, what we had in the Note 4 was kind of a renaissance of the S Pen, because it was made to be not only the great companion for jotting down everything and also making notes of what is on the phone screen, but it also was used as a bit of a mouse on the Note 4. Much of that does return in the Note 5, but as has been the trend with Samsung's new software iterations, it has been toned down a little bit. That's not to say that the S Pen has lost any functionality. On the contrary, it has been given a couple of new capabilities. Now in the Note 5, you will be able to make a screen memo when the phone is locked. You'll be able to take out the S Pen when the phone is locked, and it will create a blank slate that you can create a quick screen off memo with. And even then, the screen write capability that was originally brought from the Note 4 has been enhanced to become a scroll capture, so you can get multiple snapshots of the same web page, so you can get the entirety of the web page and be able to jot down all of your notes on top of it. From there, you still get the action memo, and the air command menu has been enhanced a little bit to give it a much better look, and you can access it not only by pressing the button on the S Pen like you did before, but there's also a floating button that will allow you to get to it, so you can get to the 3 main functions of the S Pen and also 3 frequented applications. With the even more powerful processor and the 4GB for multitasking, we have no doubt that the Note 5 is going to continue the multitasking prowess that the Note 4 had, only it's going to dial itself back a little bit, so it's not always in your face with all of its features. If there's one thing that's clear, it's that the Galaxy Note 5 got the update that it needed from the Galaxy Note 4, with a more substantial and robust design, upgraded internals, and of course an improved software experience, including the new S Pen. There are the little details of the S5 that really make it the phone that we know is going to really sell well this year. It's just that a few of the choices that it made, especially in design, means that some of its features that probably a lot of users really wanted are no longer in the Note 5. You might have to go back to the Note 4 for those. That being said, however, both of these phones still provide some great experiences, and the Note 4, with a lower price point from being last year's model, still might be one of the most viable options in Android today. But we're going to put these two into a more in-depth comparison, so make sure you stay tuned for more of that and more on the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 here at AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.